Thank you, Muriel. For an organization to have a partnership for events and different things in the community, we couldn't ask for a better partnership. We are blessed that we have the Jewish Federation of Cleveland as our partner and supporter for our commemoration. And not only that, we have a special program here in town also, a program that was initiated years ago that supports Holocaust survivors, and the Jewish Federation is a big part of it. To hear the word of the Federation, it's my pleasure to introduce Gary Gross, the chairman of the Jewish Federation.
Good afternoon. I'm proud to be here today as part of the Jewish community and as board chair of the Jewish Federation of Cleveland. Is that better? It used to be that my brother and I have been partners for 40 years now. It used to be that when we wanted to speak to each other, we would just yell across the office. So I'll speak up. I'm proud to be here as part of the Jewish Community Federation and as board chair to honor the memories of the millions who perished in the Holocaust, as well as to honor those who survived. I'd like to thank the dedicated members of Kol Israel for organizing this memorial and to Rabbi Block for officiating today. It means so much to the community. It is especially meaningful to gather together today as this monument, one of the first of its kind in the United States, was granted Ohio Historical Marker status. This sacred monument, thoughtfully created by Kol Israel's founders, is a true testament to the strength of the survivor community in Cleveland. It's an honor that the Ohio History Connection recognized this site in memory of the 6 million Jews who perished in the Holocaust. We gather here today, as we do each year between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, to remember those who passed away during the Holocaust and to mourn those who passed away in the years since. It is at this time of year that we both reflect on the past and look to the future. During Rosh Hashanah, we taste the sweet honey of the coming year, even while reflecting on the hardships of the year gone by. The survivors who arrived in Cleveland after the Holocaust faced a daunting task of rebuilding their own lives and building their community, while at the same time keeping alive the memories inscribed in their hearts and minds. Thanks to the foresight and leadership, we see that mission is being fulfilled. We see it in our schools, our community centers, and our places of worship. But most of all, we see it in the faces of the people gathered here today, in the faces of the grandparents, the parents and children, the generations who've lived on. I'm part of the generation where, thankfully, none of the members of my family perished in the Holocaust. And so as a young child, it was important for me to learn from the people. I've known so many of the Holocaust survivors, and I've known the children. I daven at Green Road Synagogue, where when I started going there 30 years ago, there were so many people from the Holocaust, and I've seen the numbers dwindle year after year after year. So as a young boy, I had to learn from the kinds of people who are sitting here today. When I was maybe 10 or 11 years old, I went to Cleveland Hebrew Schools, and it was on Taylor Road, and I would walk down to Lachs and Mandel Bakery, and I would see the women with the numbers tattooed on their arms. And I didn't understand as a young boy what it meant, and I went home and asked, and I found out. And when I was in high school, I learned from a friend of mine, Martin Goldsmith. He's moved out of Cleveland, but maybe some of you knew his mother, Marie Goldsmith. She was a violinist at the Cleveland Orchestra. And I learned that his mother and father escaped Nazi Germany in 1941. They were musicians, professional musicians, and they were able to escape the horrors of what was to come late in 1941. He wrote a book. I keep the book close to me. My sister-in-law's father was also was actually in Auschwitz, and he survived only because he was a doctor and he was able to get through the war that way, doing some work, as horrible as it was, in the camp of Auschwitz. As an adult, I learned the story of one of my closest friends. And I only tell you these few stories. I could be here for a long time because I know so many of the survivors. One of my closest friends, he has a wonderful story to tell about how his father and sister were on a train on one of the cattle cars heading towards Auschwitz. And there were some very small, tiny windows at the top of the car, and he begged his sister to jump out of the car, no matter what would happen, falling to the ground. It was better than facing the horrors of what was to come down the tracks. And he literally had to push his sister out of the window. But she survived, and my friend's father survived, and it's a wonderful thing. I go to family weddings, and I see the children of my friend's aunt at these weddings. In fact, another one's coming up in just a month from now. And every time I see the children of this woman, I think about what my friend's father did to save his sister. And what a blessing. And that family has dozens and dozens of children and grandchildren. And I tell you these stories because when I look around the people here, and I was so happy to hear what Muriel said about the testimony that's being recorded, because it's of course about remembering the families and what the horrors that they went through. But it's more than that. It's to remind people like me and my children and my grandchildren and someday great-grandchildren. It's to remind me what the horrors of the war were, and to be a beacon to the rest of the world, because all of humanity can learn from all the people that are seated here today. So it's I who thank you for all that you have done and continue to do to keep the memory of your loved ones alive, and to teach me and my and future generations lessons that we all need to learn. As we gather on Yom Kippur in just a few days to be inscribed and sealed in the Book of Life, we pray that it's not only our names that will be inscribed, but the names of all those who came before us as well. For as long as we live, they live in us. I want to wish you all a Shana Tova and a Gamar Chatima Tova.